What's up, maniacs? My name is Mex. I'm a wrestling fan, a wrestling enthusiast, a WrestleManiac, if you will. And today, we are talking about Monday Night Raw. It's the night after Clash of Champions. The show wasn't great. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I'm not even going to lie. But to hear everything that went down, stay tuned. Right here at WrestleManiac UK, I discuss everything that is WWE and AEW. So if this sounds like the place for you, make sure you click the subscribe button and make sure you hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the review. So like I said in the intro, this show wasn't great. It felt like the night after a pay-per-view, and as you know, we're gonna have a draft in like 2 weeks, so you can tell they don't really want to start any feuds because they probably don't know who's going where. And everything just seemed really inconsequential. Nothing was really progressed. Old feuds that you would hope are finished kind of continued and reignited, and it was just a very slow Raw. No Raw Underground for whatever reason. I don't know why. No Retribution. Apparently that's because they might be isolating. They've been quarantined. So yeah, a couple things that we've become very used to seeing in the last 2 months or so, just not even on TV. So you could tell the kind of Raw that we were gonna get was just a bit flat. But I'll let you know everything that happened in this episode in breezy fashion. There's not much point dwelling on these things. Like I said, Raw is probably gonna be like this for the next 2 weeks until this draft is done and we know who's going where. So let's get into it. The show opened up with a segment from Drew McIntyre thanking Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Christian, Big Show for their different influences on his career. And as they looked like they were about to go off into this Legends Lounge and have a chilled session, Randy Orton came up on the Titron and said, "You lot, you think you're funny, etc, etc, for everything that went down. Don't worry, I'm gonna get my revenge." So I guess we were yet to see what this revenge was going to be. First match on the card was Asuka versus Zelina Vega. It was a rematch from Clash of Champions the night before. Again, a lot of good sequences. Zelina Vega putting her best foot forward, showing that she can hang with the likes of Asuka and other women in the division. Again, as assumed, Asuka retained here with the Asuka lock. And now it seems that this split between Zelina and Andrade and Garza is a proper split. It's going to be interesting. Is Zelina someone that's possibly going to move in the draft? Or maybe Andrade? Maybe that's why they split them. I guess we will wait and see. Talking about Andrade, he had a match with Keith Lee straight after, and before the match began, Zelina was still leaving the ring area when Andrade was in the ring and said, "You're nothing without me, you can't do this without me, you've lost to Asuka twice now." So Andrade was really rubbing it in. Andrade had his own kind of open challenge, which, like I say, Keith Lee came out to answer. And Keith Lee, I really don't like what they're doing with his character. He hasn't shown any of his charisma, which he has in abundance since he came to the main roster. He just looks like some grumpy guy that doesn't have many words to him, which is not who Keith Lee is at all. Keith Lee has loads of charisma to offer. They're really kind of caging his ability in that aspect, in my opinion. But he had a great showing against Andrade, a lot of strong, powerful moves, throwing Andrade from pillar to post throughout the entire match, and in the end got the win with the Spirit Bomb. We had a backstage segment between R-Truth and Tozawa, still chasing down his 24/7 championship. Drew Gulak is now involved as he dressed up as one of Tozawa's ninjas. I don't even know when Drew Gulak got transferred to Raw to chase this title. Drew Gulak should definitely be doing better things than going after the 24/7 championship. But it is what it is, I guess. On the night, R-Truth lost the championship, picked it back up. He's now, I believe, a 46-time 24/7 champion. It is what it is. I don't really have anything more to say on this. The 24/7 championship continues to fill segments on Raw. So in what seems to be really being overdone right now, Seth Rollins, the Mysterio family, this is just lasting way too long now. There was a segment where the Mysterio family were on the King's Court, Jerry Lawler's show, and they were being interviewed by Jerry Lawler, when all of a sudden Seth Rollins popped up on the Titron saying that there's a member of the Mysterio family that isn't being as honest as they would make it seem. He was referring to Aaliyah. He had Buddy Murphy's phone and he was showing DMs on the screen of Aaliyah and Buddy Murphy talking. Nothing bad, all innocent. Murphy basically offered Aaliyah another person she could talk to if things got rough, and Aaliyah basically said, "I might take you up on that offer. By the way, happy birthday," because it was Murphy's birthday recently. All of a sudden, Rey Mysterio basically flipped out, like, "Why are you talking to that guy?" Aaliyah was like, "He's not as bad as Seth, blah blah blah." Aaliyah stormed out the ring again. This is just going on and on and on. Like, I'm getting bored now of this Mysterio family and Seth Rollins Messiah whole thing. It's just too much. It's becoming too much. And like I say, the direction doesn't seem like we're leading to anything. We've done everything already. I know they're probably dragging this out till we get Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. That is going to be the blow off, I'm guessing. But this is just too much now. They're just forcing things to basically keep this feud alive. It's not good. It is getting boring. How do you guys feel about it? Let me know down below in the comments. I guess one interesting thing that did come out of this feud was Buddy Murphy approaching Seth Rollins saying, you know, why have you got my phone? It's not what it looks like. He grabbed Seth Rollins and held him up just before Dominic Mysterio ran to the backstage area and took out Murphy to set up Murphy versus Dominic Mysterio on the night. Guys, before we get on with the rest of the review, if you're enjoying this review, please make sure you smash the thumbs up button, give us a like. It does loads for the channel, and you know I thoroughly appreciate it right here at WrestleManiac UK. So if you haven't already, smash that like button. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke teamed up to take on Lana and Natalya, both vying for, I guess, the number 2 contendership position, because the Riot Squad are currently the number 1 contenders for the women's tag team titles. And Mandy and Dana Brooke got a win over Lana and Natalya here. They cut a backstage promo as well, saying that they've teamed up because they really respect each other and that they will be watching Riot Squad versus Baszler and Nia Jax whenever that match does happen, because they want a piece of the women's tag team titles. In another feud that isn't really progressing and hasn't really captured the imaginations of anybody, Kevin Owens took on Aleister Black. Aleister Black cut a promo before the match. It was very kind of Bray Wyatt-ish, if I have to say so myself. Nothing really was said here. Aleister Black has also been given like a new entrance theme tune. I just don't know what they're doing with Aleister Black. I don't think they know either. It's been said that the guys backstage aren't really hot on Aleister Black, which is just a crime in itself because he's a brilliant talent. Kevin Owens as well needs more to do, in my opinion. This feud is just absolutely boring. There's nothing on stake here, and it's like the reason why they're fighting is just a nothing reason. In the middle of his rage during the match, Aleister Black hit the referee and the referee threw this match out, so Kevin Owens won by disqualification. Following on from the 24/7 backstage segment that we had earlier on the show, we had R-Truth, Drew Gulak and Tozawa have a triple threat match for the 24/7 championship in the middle of the ring this time. No backstage shenanigans, no interferences, and R-Truth got the win here, pinning Drew Gulak. So things don't look great for Drew Gulak. Like I say, R-Truth retains the championship on the night. In a conclusion to what happened earlier on in the night, Murphy took on Dominic Mysterio. This was looking like a pretty decent match. Mysterio was going to get the upper hand as he went under the ring and pulled out a kendo stick. His sister Aaliyah ran to ringside and said, "No, leave him alone, don't do it, Dominic." Dominic was telling her, "Go backstage, what are you doing here? He's caused so much damage to our lives, to our family, and you're here basically defending him." Dominic got back into the ring with the kendo stick where Buddy Murphy was begging him, "Don't hit me with it." Aaliyah caused a distraction for Dominic Mysterio, and Buddy rolled up Dominic Mysterio and got the win. Even the roll up didn't really look convincing. It looked like Buddy Murphy had actually let go of Mysterio before the 3 count was made. So yeah, Aaliyah basically caused her brother to lose to Murphy here. After the match, they had a bit of an argument where Dominic Mysterio said, "You're just like Dad said, naive," and Aaliyah slapped Dominic Mysterio before storming out. The Hurt Business were in action. They took on Mustafa Ali, Ricochet and Apollo Crews. If you watched my Clash of Champions review, I was praying that this feud between these guys would be over. It wasn't over. We got them on the show tonight. The match was decent. Like, of course, these guys are always gonna put together, but it's just boring now. We've seen it for how many weeks now? But Mustafa Ali got the win for his team here with a 450 off the top rope onto MVP, pinned MVP. So Mustafa Ali gets the win on Raw, which is a pretty good result for him. He's been on main event the last couple of weeks. I was wondering where Cedric Alexander has been. He wasn't on Clash of Champions last night, and he wasn't on Raw tonight either. I hope he's all well and good. I hope he hasn't contracted COVID or anything like that. MVP did say before the match began that Cedric Alexander was in Hurt Business boot camp after losing last week. So yeah, I don't know what the real story is behind Cedric's absence, but I hope everything is alright. Last but not least, we had Drew McIntyre offer up an open challenge for the WWE Championship. The one caveat being that he can't face anybody that he's already faced for the championship, which still leaves loads of superstars able able to compete for this championship. And who did we get coming out for the open challenge? None other than Robert Roode. Dolph Ziggler was instrumental in bringing Robert Roode back onto our screens, and Robert Roode took on Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. He looked really good, and it was good to see him, to be honest. It's been a long time since Robert Roode has been on our screens, and he had a pretty decent match with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre obviously still selling injuries from the ambulance match the night before, and after a Claymore kick, Drew McIntyre won the match and defended his WWE Championship. Just as you thought the show was finished, we had a segment where a janitor was closely being followed by the camera. Now, we had seen this janitor earlier on in the night, but we didn't know what was going on and why so much emphasis was being put on this janitor. We came to learn that this janitor was none other than Randy Orton. He dressed up as a janitor and was walking around backstage, and in this segment at the end of the show, he basically located the Legends Lounge where they were all in there playing poker. He went into the Legends Lounge. They all identified, yes, it's Randy Orton. He turned off the lights. He went in there with a steel chair and beat up everyone with this steel chair. How did he do this in the dark, one might ask? He was wearing night vision goggles. I don't have to say anything more on that, I don't think. He was wearing night vision goggles and he took out everyone. Now, what is worse than the night vision goggles is he walked into a room, beat up everyone with a steel chair, and not one person made a sound. There wasn't one scream, wasn't one there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. All you heard was tables, the poker chips falling over, you heard things being destroyed, but there was not one sound of somebody actually being hurt. Of course, the lights came back on, Randy Orton was leaving the Legends Lounge, and we saw all the destruction with all the men lying all over the ground, selling injuries, yet there was no screams, there was no shouts. These segments, I just don't know why WWE just can't get them right. How could you not shout when you're being attacked by a steel chair? Like, how didn't that happen? Anyway, Randy Orton leaves the Legends Lounge, puts his disguise back on, and directs the WWE officials and referees towards the Legends Lounge that something has just happened in that room. However, if they knew something had happened in that room, they would have known the janitor was the one that did it, because they would have seen it. I just don't understand. But guys, that was Raw. So guys, that was my Raw review. Like I said, a really disappointing, boring show. Not a lot is happening. Not a lot is probably going to happen next week either, whilst they wait for this draft to happen. So we hope the draft comes very, very soon to save us from these mediocre shows. But let's hope next week is a bit better than this week. Guys, if you enjoyed this review, please remember to hit the thumbs up button. And if you're new here, welcome. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video. WrestleManiac UK signing out, and I'll see you soon.